Welcome, I'm Jackson Bell,
And I'm Tamara Bell.
and you're listening to our podcast, Talking Movies with My Mom, where talk about movies with my mom. And just so you know, there will be spoilers. Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to today's episode. Now, Mom and I really enjoy watching foreign or international movies and TV shows. I mean, who didn't watch Squid Game or The Great British Bake Off? Which got us wondering if it's our imagination or if there are more international films available for us to watch than in previous years. And that led me to an article on the Global Edge blog about how streaming services are bolstering the international film industry. For instance, last year Netflix saw a 200% increase in United States K-drama consumption. And of course, that's led to a film like Parasite winning the Best Picture Oscar.
You know, back in the day, it's not as if you couldn't find international films at your local Blockbuster, but the selection was kind of limited to hits and obscure cult classics. I remember how excited I was when I found The Commitments on the shelf of a Blockbuster. Of course, that was like the third store that I had to visit to get it. Third time's a charm. But that was a movie that had garnered a lot of buzz, word of mouth, and it benefited from a kick-ass soundtrack. So yay for streaming services making it easier for us to see some really amazing storytelling without relying on an American remake.
And to celebrate our, and we're betting your, love of international entertainment, we came up with a recurring topic we'll explore each season on our podcast. For a premiere episode of Oh, the Places We'll Go, we're traveling to South Korea. Now, when it comes to East Asian directors, well, every international director, but especially East Asian ones, they tend to be in one or two camps. Either they're the ones who make it big over here in the West, to where they become household names, their styles are endlessly copied, and they call it a perception of the country's movies. Directors like John Woo, Hayao Miyazaki, Park Chan-wook, and recently Bong Joon-ho fit this category. Or they're in the second camp, where they're famous but only as a director's director, well known for the tremendous accomplishments of cinema, uncommercial, transgressive films, and their own unique styles of filmmaking. Maybe it'll get a shout out from Quentin Tarantino or Joe Bob Briggs. Directors like Takashi Miike, Wong Kar-wai, Yoshiaki Kawajiri, and Na Hong-jin fit this bill. And somewhere in the middle lies Kim Jee-woon, the subject of today's episode. He has made some of the greatest movies that come from South Korea, to the point where he was able to direct an English-speaking movie in the States, 2013's Last Stand. Yet his name doesn't get brought up much despite most of his filmography kicking ass, which leads us to the first movie we're going to discuss. My personal pick, The Good, the Bad, the Weird. Set in 1941 during the Second Sino-Japanese War between China and Japan, the plot involves the bandit hitman Park Chan-yi, the Bad, being assigned to steal a treasure map from a Japanese official. But he ends up being beaten to the punch by infamous bandit Yoon Tae-gu, the Weird, a rather comical man who ends up snagging the map. But Yoon Tae-gu runs into bounty hunter Park Do-won, the Good. Soon, Tae-gu and Do-won strike up a bit of partnership as they venture off toward the treasure before the flamboyantly vicious Chan-yi can. Oh, and they have the entire Japanese army on their tail. Everybody wants the map, and it's only a matter of time before the treasure is claimed by its rightful owner. Now, if you couldn't tell by its premise and title, this is a Korean remake of the classic spaghetti western, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, though Kim Jee-woon has referred to this one as a kimchi western.
And you know, as I was rewatching it, it occurred to me that bad, I'll just call them good, bad, weird. Okay. It occurred to me that bad, that he looks like Prince in Purple Rain. Right? I mean, he's dressed like Prince with his long jacket, his hair, his makeup. But then, as he moved with his swagger, it hit me that he's really Jack Sparrow.
A really cruel Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, no, not amusing like Jack Sparrow in any way.
Yeah, he's not exactly Bugs Bunny.
No, which you would think for the bad guy, right? That he would look more brutal. Maybe a lot of scars showing, that he's been in a lot of fights, you know, wearing brass knuckles, maybe like Bane, ginormous, you know, really body built, you know, but he's not. There's a scene after he's killed, I think he's the Japanese admiral. Is he an admiral or something?
Yeah, the guy who hired him.
Right. It's whoever that he's working for, right? So he's finding the map for him. And he puts on Moonlight Serenade by Glenn Miller. And he's walking toward a door. There's a safe, though, behind that door. But on his way over, he does a couple of spins while twirling with his arms out, which kind of out of character for someone who just knifed a guy in the back, who, from the conversation they had a history. So it's not like he just met him and then he just decided to, like, stab him. Bad knew the admiral well enough to know that he hides his money and jewelry in the safe. But the actor, Byung-hun Lee, just moves so effortlessly, just carefree, like he's floating. I can't imagine Lee Van Cleef, who played Bad in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, spinning with his arms out to Moonlight Serenade.
Yeah, he's a very anime villain.
Very. I mean, and just completely unexpected. There's another scene where Good and Weird, like you said in your synopsis, that they have to partner up to find the map. And I think they're at the Ghost Market, which I got to say, okay, they're being attacked by the Ghost Market gang. And honestly, if I were a part of a gang, I would totally want to be Ghost Market gang. That just sounds really cool. But anyway, so the Good and Weird are hiding behind like this wooden building. And Good asks Weird to run across the plaza out in the open, by the way. I mean, it's a plaza, so it's out in the open. So Good can figure out where the gang is shooting from and then take them out. And Weird is like, what? Like, why do I have to go? Then he asks, should I run zigzag to confuse them or in a straight line? And Good looks at him and he's like he's completely confused by what's he talking about here? I don't understand what he's talking about. So Weird starts running across the plaza and he's running zigzag, which is hilarious because it is just so completely ridiculous, but strangely, totally in character for him. One of the things I really love about this movie is that we get such great insight into these characters without words, right?
That's very show don't tell, which is similar to the original in that aspect.
Right? Very show don't tell. And that crosses all languages and all cultures.
Now, can I also I want to do a little side tangent here. I just want to say foreign remakes, such as this one, are very interesting. Now, sometimes when a country adapts another country's movie, they sometimes either deliver a straightforward adaptation of the film, like same plot, same premise, but just different actors speaking a different language, and then they just call it a day. Sometimes the director of the previous movie can actually return to direct this new one, like The Grudge. That was a Japanese movie, and the director directed the American remake. But sometimes foreign remakes take the premise of the original movie and either update it beyond a different setting and culture. They often set it in a different time frame altogether to reflect the country's culture and history. In this case, Kim Jee-woon was able to adapt an epic, slow-paced, light-on-action Italian Western centered around scope and scenes of intensity into a really awesome, fast-paced action movie that offers different takes on its title characters. In fact, the movie is more of a tribute to the original that does its own thing, rather than a straight-up remake. For one thing, it's a lot shorter than the almost 3-hour-long epic. And a little more self-contained. There's not much in the way of actual traveling. There's a lot of action in this one. Great action, too. But what's great about the original is that the premise of the movie, three men who didn't exactly have the purest of hearts, racing through war-torn land to acquire treasure. It's a very simple premise that can be easily adapted into just about anything. Any country can adapt this premise into their own movie. And a lot of movies have copied Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, hell, recently, Puss in Boots 2, the straight up, that might as well be an animated version of Good, Bad, and the Ugly. It has a similar premise and everything.
I totally agree. The great thing about this movie is that it keeps that simplicity, but it also adds its own twist to it.
Exactly. And that's what I really like. This really is Kim Jee-woon's movie. He took an old movie and really made it in his own image, his own really awesome image.
One of the things I really loved about it too was just visually, it looked amazing because this is a scene that's like close to the end, right? And they're on the last leg of the chase to find this map. They're in a desert, and so there's obviously a lot of sand a lot of sand around them, where you've got the Japanese army, you've got the Ghost Market gang back again, you've got Bad's gang, right? And they're all following Weird because he knows where the treasure is.
Oh yeah, everybody's after them, like the Salvation Army,
Right,
the,
the
the
Salvation Army.
CIA, Santa Claus, Easter Bunny. They're all
Right.
after him. The
All
Bald
after
Man.
him. Oh my God. Everybody is chasing him. And the Japanese army starts firing shells from these cannons. And the shells are obviously hitting the sand. You know, you've got horses galloping, trying to avoid all the explosions. You've got sand going, you know, sand's blowing up. The visuals, you just know that you're seeing something really special with that because it's just, you just have to kind of sit there and think, how did they shoot that to not scare the bejesus out of those horses and start having all the riders, you know, that the horses don't buck all the riders off.
Maybe Korean horses are just that badass.
And it could be. Absolutely. They take direction much better, maybe. I don't know. But no, it was just really an amazing visual for that. At this point, too, you know, we still don't know what the treasure is.
Exactly. Because we think it's like the original where it's like, oh, it's just gold.
Right. And so we still have a little mystery going on here because we're not sure what it is. And it's not just the audience that doesn't know what it is, the characters don't know what it is either. Which there's another great scene, and this is earlier in the movie, when Weird tells Good what he'll do with the treasure when he finds it. So he wants to sell the jewels. He thinks it's jewels and money and gold or whatever it is. And so he tells Good that he wants to buy land, and then he wants what, like cows, chickens?
Yeah, beef, pork, chicken,
Right.
all that stuff.
all the farm animals. He wants all the farm animals on his land. And then Good asks, well, you know, what are you going to do after that? You know, you've got your land, you've got all your farm animals. What are you going to do? And Weird just is like, well, that's it. That's about as far as he's gotten. That's enough for him. He doesn't need anything more than just that. And then Good says, well, you know, I don't believe that there's a treasure. I don't really believe that I'll actually find it. But if I did, then I know what I would do with the money. But then he looks over at Weird and sees that he's asleep. So Good stops talking and then he goes to sleep. And we never find out what he would do with it. That I think is one of the great mysteries of this show, is that this movie, we don't ever find out what is Good gonna do with the treasure.
But that's what I love about it as well. In that, you know, like Good, Bad, and the Ugly, there's a lot of mystery to this movie. A lot of characters are not fully explored. We know a bit about them, but not too much about them. We're not so sure who exactly they are. We just know what they do and we know the personalities, but that's about it. Also, what I really love, I know I keep saying, oh, I love this and that, but also
well, there's a lot to love about this movie, so totally
exactly.
agree.
But the soundtrack for this movie is so good. Like the original, no, Good, Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack is amazing. Ennio Morricone was fantastic. It's made some of the most iconic tracks in not just Western history, but just movie cinema history as well.
Oh my God. I mean, who doesn't recognize the music from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly?
Exactly. But this movie, like the rest of the movie, Good, Bad, and Weird, it takes a different approach to the soundtrack because it's very bombastic, very like peppy, and very fun. Like I love the soundtrack. It is a joy to listen to.
It is.
It's very funny too. A lot of dark humor, dark comedy, but it's all very like silly, very over the top, but just really enjoyable. Like it never detracts from like the tone they're going for.
I mean, at the end, you've got Good, Bad, Weird in a circle, right? And each shoots at the other. Whoever's last man standing gets the treasure.
Yeah, it's pretty much the duel from the original movie, but again, like the rest of the movie, taken to the extreme.
But what's interesting though is that they're all on the ground, wounded. Right? We don't know who's dead and who's alive.
It's not like the old cowboy days where it's just one shot. That's it. That shot usually kills you instantly. This one, it's like everyone's taking like 12 bullets at once.
Right.
And it's still fighting.
And it's like, first off, how are they still alive and still able to? I mean, they're kind of stumbling around. At some point after, you know, like they've all like just been shot, they're all on the ground, wounded. And then the treasure, here's where we find out what the treasure is, because the treasure just starts to gush and it's all, which was completely unexpected, because for them, for the audience, we thought it would be a treasure chest full of jewels.
A pirate's chest.
Right? That's what we were kind of led to believe. That's certainly what they thought it was. They didn't realize that it was going to be all. And of course, all turns out to be the biggest treasure of all. And so, as people who live in Texas, we understand all is the biggest treasure of all.
Oh, and has there ever been a Pirates versus Cowboys movie?
You know what? I don't think I know there was an Aliens versus Cowboys movie, but I don't think there's ever been a pirate versus cowboy movie. Huh?
There should be.
There absolutely should be. Maybe we're on something.
Get on it, Kim Jee-woon.
That's right. But the visual there during this whole shoot 'em out scene, they are bright sunlight shooting at each other with a 360 camera spin. But then it moves to a long shot where they're lying on the ground, and in the background, there's snow-covered mountains. And it's got this blue filter over the lens. It's so peaceful, after all of that carnage with them, shooting each other up and stumbling around and blinding bright sunlight and blood squirting everywhere. It's just peaceful. The three of them just lying on the ground, not moving. I don't know who thought of that, but just the juxtaposition between chaos and peace is just, I think, really interesting.
Now, interesting enough, there's actually two different versions of this movie. The two versions of the movie are the original Korean cut, and for some reason they made an international release when this was shown at like a bunch of film festivals outside of its native country. And both movies are very similar for the most part, except they each have a different ending.
Oh.
Now, the original Korean version ended with the Weird surviving the shootout. Turns out he had like this bulletproof plate of metal hidden under his shirt, and he made an escape from the scene with the entire Japanese army still on his tail. It's like, okay, we dust ourselves off after being hit with cannonballs, but then it turns out the Good also survived the shootout and closes the movie pursuing the Weird. So that's how.
So we actually see them get up and run away.
Yes. In the original Korean version, which I unfortunately can't really find on the internet, I guess, unless you are Korean or you speak Korean. Because I don't think they even translated the original ending. It's just
no
like
subtitles for that one.
No, it almost felt like an afterthought. It's just like, well, this happened, but we're not going to use this anyway, so why bother? It's like, even if it's not the ending we got, which, spoiler alert, yeah, it's not the ending we got. But even though it's not the ending we got, I still would have liked if this is like, I don't know, a DVD feature to be like, here's how it could have ended. Because the version we have, the international cut, the studio decided to just stop the movie. So all three characters die from the shootouts, and the oil shoots up from the ground, and then that's it. We cut to like a wall of wanted posters. The bad's wanted posters are moved by a mysterious man who may be the Good, and like a crap load of like bandanas around his face to conceal his identity. Maybe he faked his death, but we don't know what happened to the Weird. We don't know what happened really to anybody, and it just ends there. Though, to be fair, the international release's ending apparently reflects Kim Jee-woon's original vision. This is how he wanted it to end originally. So make that what you will.
So he definitely wanted more of a ambiguous ending. Like, we don't know if they live or die.
Right. So who knows? Maybe the Korean version was the studio meddling. Maybe they were like, we don't like this ending, shoot a new one. Well, and then they went for the original anyway.
Well, I mean, it's not like that's never happened before. So we've seen a lot of South Korean movies. Why did you choose this one to talk about?
Well, first off, when you pitched me this idea, I had just finished rewatching this movie. So I'm just like, well, it's on my mind. Because the reason why I rewatched it, even before you told me about this episode, was because I just really love this movie. It's such a great Korean action movie. Like, it really showcases like true talent and just action choreography, humor, the visuals, everything's just so well done. And the fact that it's a remake of one of my all-time favorite movies Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and it remakes it to such perfection where it really is just like a different. Yeah, like you don't need to watch the original movie to get this
No,
one,
you don't.
which is the beauty of it. It doesn't it doesn't rely on prior knowledge of the original source material to get the most enjoyment out of it. You can just watch this without having seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly, which you still should. If you haven't seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly, you still should see it. It's a
Absolutely.
requirement. But
Right. It is a
Professor
requirement.
yeah, Professor Jackson says that it's a requirement for any film lover. But this movie is just so good. So so awesome. This is not Kim Jee-woon's first action movie. Previously, he did the movie A Bittersweet Life with Hyun-Lee as the protagonist. So this feels more like an extension of what he did with Bittersweet Life, and that he would continue to do with like not Last Man Standing, the Tim Allen show. No, with The Last Stand, the Schwarzenegger movie. And it's funny too because Johnny Knoxville was in that movie, and he's a fan of Kim Jee-woon because he's a fan of Good, Bad, the Weird.
Is that one of the reasons why he did the movie?
Well, I'm sure money, but also,
But
but also, if
bonus, I get to
right,
also work with you.
right. I mean, if you're gonna work with a director of a movie you really enjoy, you might as well do it. Might as well take up that offer. But Kim Jee-woon is not just an action director; he is also a horror movie director. His first horror movie actually got a Japanese remake by Takashi Miike, and one of his best horror thrillers is our next movie that we're going to discuss.
And this is the one that I chose. I Saw the Devil, which obviously is directed by Ji-woon Kim and starring Byung-hun Lee as fiance super agent. That's what I'm calling him. And Min-sik Choi as the devil.
Their character names, by the way, Lee plays Kim Soo-hyun and Choi plays Chan Kyun-chu.
Thank you for that. This movie also involves
Oh,
a chase.
and also, by the way, when Mom says the devil, Vincent Choi's character, he's not the actual devil. He's like the metaphorical devil.
Right. Yes, he's metaphorical. But he's very, very devilish,
So
though.
he might as well be.
So this movie, though, also involves a chase, just like The Good, the Bad, the Weird, but it's a very different kind of chase. So according to one synopsis, a school bus driver encounters a woman on the side of the road with a flat tire. After beating her unconscious and bringing her to his home, the devil, who's the school bus driver, methodically dismembers her, unaware that her engagement ring drops off her finger and gets stuck in the drain. He scatters the body parts into a local stream where they are discovered, prompting the police to conduct a search that is led by the squad chief, who's the woman's father. Her fiance, a national intelligence officer, vows to take revenge against the murderer. That starts a cat and mouse chase that is nothing like Tom and Jerry.
Oh no, Tom and Jerry would be a lot cooler if Jerry severed Tom's tendon.
It would definitely be interesting for sure. I don't know if it would be as kid friendly.
Then this is probably a controversial take, but I think I Saw the Devil is the best thriller to come out of Korea. Now, Korean movies have a wide variety of genres, like all countries. You know, they made comedies, dramas,
romances.
Romances. Oh, they have a whole TV genre of nothing but Korean romance shows. But the thrillers are the ones that tend to get the most recognition. And I think this one is the country's greatest thriller, though it doesn't help that it was also the first one I ever saw.
And I totally get that because it's also the first one that I ever saw from South Korea. Obviously, we've seen other South Korean thrillers since then. And this one is still just amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like, this really is. I know we're going to spoil this movie, but honestly, you should see it. It's pretty violent, but it's so worth it.
Well, and here's the thing. This is how horrible the devil is. The woman, the fiance, she tells him that she's pregnant and she is begging, please don't kill me. I'm pregnant. Right. And he doesn't hesitate to pick up the knife and just start cutting at her. But it's almost like he's pissed off that she's pregnant.
That's what you interpreted from the scene?
Yes, that he was upset that she was pregnant, that not that he wasn't going to kill her. Don't get me wrong. Of course he was going to end up killing her. I mean, he had her in plastic wrap. I mean, it's like complete, total Dexter he was going to kill her, right? But the minute she said, "Please don't kill me, I'm pregnant," it was almost like he took, I don't know, more glee, more joy in killing her. I don't know. I mean,
I
it
think he
just
just didn't
seemed,
care. Either way, it's like either way you say it, I don't care. I'm gonna kill you.
yeah. I mean, I guess that's probably it too. But it just seemed like he took a little extra joy in ruining that for her. But you'd think that the fiance slash super agent who took 2 weeks off from work to grieve, but really he's going to track down the murderer and kill him. So you'd think when the fiance went to the devil's parents' home, right, as part of his search, there's like 4 suspects that could be the serial killer. So he goes to each one of their homes, and now he can only find the parents' home at first. And so he goes to the parents' home, and you would think that the parents would be monsters, right? Because my God, how could they not be? But that's not the case at all. I mean, they know their son's not a good guy. I mean, they're not trying to sugarcoat him. Okay. They know he's not good, but they love him and they're raising his son, who this kid seems perfectly normal. I mean, he's not boiling bunnies or microwaving cats. So, by all means, this is a normal, typical family whose son and father is a psychopathic serial killer.
Yeah, pretty typical.
Right, just typical. It's every day. The super agent finds out from the parents where the devil actually lives. So he goes and searches the devil's house. He finds his fiance's ring in the drain. So he knows he's the guy. But when he has the opportunity to beat him to death, which who wouldn't take that opportunity? He doesn't do it. Instead, the super agent forces the devil to swallow a tracker so he can track his movements and listen to his conversations. Now, this happens within the first hour of the movie. So outside the fact that if he had beaten him to death, the movie would have been over pretty quickly. But why do you think he doesn't kill him or kidnap him when he has the chance right here in this scene?
Kim, he just wants to torture Chang because he is horrible. Like Kim really wants to deliver proper what he thinks is proper retribution. Because to him, it's like, you tortured my wife, you killed her slowly, painfully, you took her life away unnecessarily. So I'm going to do what you did to her, which would mean slowly torturing him. And it really calls on a question of, is he doing this for the sake of justice, what he perceives as fair retribution, or is he just as crazy as Chang and he just doesn't want to admit it?
But I think that, the devil, so the devil kind of gets off a little scot-free here, right? I mean, he just, again, the super agent just puts a tracker in him and makes him swallow it when he's out cold, so he doesn't know that he's got a tracker inside of him. Then the devil comes, awake, and he's not even grateful for the fact that the super agent didn't kill him. I mean, the super agent easily could have just killed him,
and he left him some money.
I mean, my God, the devil must have thought, my God, who is this guy? He doesn't kill me. He's leaving me money. And yet he's not even grateful for that. Instead, the devil, he hops into a cab, which already has one passenger, and then ends up murdering both the passenger and the driver in the most spectacular scene ever. It's like this 360-degree spin inside the taxi. And so how do you even think that they filmed that?
See, the thing you didn't bring up is that the taxi driver and the passenger, they were actually a serial killer duo. They had killed the previous taxi driver and they're harboring a taxi.
Well, it's,
they were going to kill Min-sik Choi's character. And so he's like, well, I'm going to kill them first. And it's such an incredible scene. It's pretty much, the scene from Children of Men by Alfonso Cuarón, where it's the inside the car, the famous shots.
Yes.
Yes. It's pretty much that, but taken even more to the extreme.
Yeah.
A bit more blood, bit more stabbing, and and apparently, according to Min-sik Choi, how they filmed that whole scene is they filmed it with a fake taxi cab and a whole lot of movie studio magic.
Well, but I want to know more about the studio magic because it was just amazing. I mean, the tight quarters, because with the Children of Men, with that scene in the car, the violence, the bad guys, all of it is coming from the outside, not inside. And in this scene, all the violence is coming inside. It's all happening within the taxi. And just from, like whoever had to choreograph that, not to mention who the cinematographer would be and how many cameras they had to have placed in all these different places to get all these different shots, because the devil is like killing the driver who's obviously in the front seat with him, and then you've got the passenger in the back seat. The passenger in the back seat is also trying to kill the devil, and as the driver's trying to kill it's like this.
Everybody's trying to kill somebody.
Everybody's trying to kill somebody, but trying to choreograph that, I wonder how much time it took them just to rehearse that scene over and over again to make sure that everything was exactly the way that it was supposed to be, so that it ended up on camera as just movie studio magic.
And brutal too, because again, a lot of stabbing. It's like 100 or so stabs in that scene alone. It is frantic, chaotic, but it's so great to watch.
And so I'm not gonna lie here, though. I mean, we're not gonna like sugarcoat this and say that this movie, it is a gruesome, bloody mess of a movie. Okay, there's cannibals at one point. There's more beatings and murders of the super agents' in-laws to be. Honestly, this could absolutely have deteriorated into full-on torture porn, which, just for the record, I'm not a fan of that. But it's elevated by the script, the directing, and the acting. Because the devil and the super agent fiance, the movie doesn't work if not for them, because they give us such an amazing insight into the psychological mindset of both men. One, obviously, being a psychopathic serial killer, the other, a grieving fiance bent on revenge. But there's this one scene where the investigating detective tells the fiance, you can't become a monster to fight the monsters. And that's the impulse that he is fighting against the entire movie.
The big theme of the movie here is revenge. Specifically, this is a deconstruction of revenge movies. Kim wants so bad to ruin Min-sik Choi's life by making him suffer as much as his fiance suffer, but it ultimately leads to his own downfall. As Kim's fiance's sister says, revenge is for the movies. Don't do this. And he does it anyway. And what happens to him? A whole lot of suffering on his part. And look where that gets him. It's like by the end of the movie, his family life is in utter ruins, and he ends up a broken man. So the main lesson ultimately in this movie is that you really shouldn't toy with evil. That's what Min-sik Choi's character is, just pure evil in its simplest form. And what I love about the movie is that it's normally a challenge to write like pure evil as a character that embodies all the negative qualities of humanity without appearing too gratuitous, over the top, unrealistic, or just plain obnoxious. Like some of these movies are these stories that try to examine human evil. They often go too much in the crazy direction. Like there's this one like CSI novel that's like, who's the worst person they ever fought? And it's like this guy who's like, oh, I burn people alive. I'm a rapist. I eat babies.
Oh my God.
Every like crazy shit you could think of. I have a body count into hundreds. And it's like, this is almost cartoonish because it's just like, we really need like the ultimate bad guy. And what I love about Min-sik Choi's character here is that he's just a human. That's the thing. He has like his own little side hobbies. He has a family. He has friends. But what's so great is that it really examines, like, no matter where you look at this guy, it's like, oh, he has family. He has people who care for him. No matter what, his character is just the biggest piece of shit ever put to film. Like, he has no redeeming qualities. There's nothing good about him, like, at all. He treats everyone like garbage. He's narcissistic. He's rude. On top of being a serial killer, serial rapist.
Right. He's also just not very nice.
Yeah, he's not a nice guy. He knows how to really get under your skin. This dude's just a pure A-grade asshole. And what's so fascinating is that Min-sik Choi, he's well known for playing the Old Boy. He plays the main character in Park Chan-wook's Old Boy movie, which is funny because I mainly know him as a guy who plays some of the slimiest villains in Korean cinema.
Yeah.
At this movie, and especially Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, the other Park Chan-wook movie, which That's fantastic. And he plays such an awful person in that
Oh
movie.
my God. Not a nice guy.
No. But no, but Mystic Choi is just like that type of guy you really just want to punch. His dialogue, his mannerisms, you're just like, oh fuck this guy. But you can't stop watching him. Probably
Right.
because he's just so fascinating to watch. His charisma, his mannerisms, just seeing him get the shit beaten out of him. It's just really entertaining. And again, if you're gonna tell your movie, I saw the devil, you gotta bring in your A game. You gotta say, yeah, this guy probably is the devil because he's just so horrible. Again, that's like those works tell Monster, like not the Charles Theron movie, but there's like this famous manga series called Monster that involves a guy chasing this serial killer. Like I Saw the Devil, that manga is like that he doesn't have love for anybody. He just cares about causing misery because that's what he enjoys doing.
And the thing is that this isn't a movie that's tied up with a bow at the end, right? This is no Hollywood ending kind of movie. This isn't Liam Neeson at the end of Taken, right? Which we loved, but let's get real. Okay. The ending was Liam Neeson takes Kim, the daughter, right, to the home of the pop star she admires. And the pop star says to her, let's see what you've got. Right. I mean, it's a happy, smiley, big hugs all the way around. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's all a feel good
let's have
ending, right?
fun.
Right.
You're almost a victim of human trafficking. Let's have fun now. Yeah.
Right. Woo. So it's like, what? And spoiler, that's not how this movie ends, right? There are no easy answers. There's a difference between revenge and justice. And revenge may feel better than justice, but at what cost to you, to your humanity, to your soul? And early on, I think the super agent fiance, he toys with the devil, not just to torture him, but as we had talked about earlier, that's one of the main reasons is because he wants to torture him. But I think there's like a little bit something else going on here, because I think that he also held out hope that the devil was somehow redeemable, or at least he would feel badly for killing his fiance, that when confronted with his acts of atrocity, he would repent, that the devil would actually say, I'm sorry that I killed your fiance and your baby. And if he has to torture the devil to get to that point, I think that's fine with him. But the thing is that we don't always get that.
The world's deadliest arm twister.
Right? But we don't always get that remorse, right? I mean, I've seen enough Investigation, Discovery, and Dateline to know there are just evil people. But at the end, the fiance could have continued to torture the devil, right? Because he's got him in this shack, I guess. It's kind of like a little shack.
There's
right?
actually it's the devil's lair.
There you go. Okay, so he's got him in the devil's lair. I call it a shack, but you call it a lair. Well, let's tomato,
The hate shack.
The hate shack. Until
it's the hate shack.
So he could have easily continued to torture him until he was near death and then just like put him out of his misery. But there's a moment when the fiance realizes it doesn't matter what he does, that the devil will never feel remorse. And it's at that point that he realizes too that I can continue to torture him, but am I doing it to him or for me? And it's not worth it to the fiance to hand this devil more of his soul. And so the fiance leaves the devil holding a rope between his teeth, right? While he's underneath some like sort of makeshift guillotine.
And again, this is Vincent Choi, that's his guillotine. What he does is he dismembers his victims by putting them in guillotines.
That's right.
But so Kim, Byung-hun Lee, he does reversal and puts Vincent Choi in his own guillotine.
The fiance walks out the door, and the devil is basically trying to talk around the rope between his teeth. The devil doesn't realize what the rope between his teeth actually means until he hears his son and parents outside the door of his home.
Of his hate shack.
Of his hate shack.
Which is not what we're calling it.
Right. So the parents and the son are outside the hate shack, and he realizes that the minute they open up the door, that it's going to trigger the guillotine to come and chop off his head.
Because what happens is the rope that Mr. Choi he's holding on to his teeth is attached to the doorknob of
Right.
the door.
Right.
And the unholy made it so that there's only one way to enter that room, and it would have to be through the
The front
door that
door.
the rope is right, the rope that's attached to. And again, if he lets go of that rope, off comes his head.
And so he's trying to scream at them around the rope in his mouth, don't come in the door, don't come in the door. Right? Because he knows that the minute that they do, that's it. He's a goner. There's that going on. And then we cut to a scene where the fiance is walking away from the hate shack and he's walking down the street. He can hear what's going on because he's got the tracker is somewhere still.
Right. He put the tracker like right by Mensik Choi to where he could hear like everything that's gonna happen. He can hear his family's reaction to the inevitable.
And so he is going to hear all of this, but he also hears the devils almost panic that this is the end of him. And you would think that if this were, maybe a little bit more typical Hollywood kind of ending, that he would be kind of skipping down the streets, maybe not skipping down the streets, whistling and that sort of thing, but that it would be a little bit more of a satisfied, like, I got him finally, right? He deserves this death. I'm getting my revenge. How dare he try to kill my fiance and my, all these other family members. And he think that he can get away with that. He's out of his ever loving mind. I've got him at the end, haha, kind of thing. And that's not how the fiance approaches this at all. He hears what happens because obviously the family does, make it through the door. The devil dies. And the fiance like takes out the earbuds so that he can't hear anymore of what's going on because he knows for sure that he's dead and that's all he really needs to know. And then he's walking and he's walking right into the camera. So we see him, his body language, his face, we see all of it. And honest to God, it's just like he just needs a hug. I mean, that's the only I can really think about.
Yeah, he breaks down to tears.
Oh my God, totally broken. I mean, you just want to reach through the screen and give him like the biggest hug ever because he is just tears. It is just overwhelming. He's not walking away at the end thinking that violence, even against like a horrible, awful person, it is anyway going to lessen your grief because it doesn't. It doesn't lessen the grief. It doesn't matter. Revenge doesn't help you in any way. And that's, I think, how this story kind of ends, which is, I think, such an impactful, so powerful that you can see it once. And this is the type of movie that's just going to stay with you forever.
Well said. So speaking of the ending, apparently this movie was so violent in Korea that Kim Jee-woon had to make several versions of this movie. Again, the second Kim Jee-woon movie we're talking about, what is different versions
right
of this movie.
Right. I mean, you'd think that he just makes like these really violent, grotesque movies, but they're not that. They're violent and grotesque in some ways, but it's not, they're not defined by that.
And so there's several versions. There's like a theatrical cut, which censors like a lot of violence. Well, the Korean theatrical cut, I should say. Maybe this was shown in some theaters here in the States, in the West, but in Korea, it was definitely like tampered with. And then international releases had different versions as well. They kept most of the violence, but they excise not only a rape scene.
It just wouldn't have been necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, we already know how evil it is. We don't need to continue to belabor the point.
But they also got rid of an epilogue for the movie. So in the original Korean version, Kim's bosses, they're like, look, what you do in Korea is punishable. We could like arrest you right now and like have you turn in your badge. I think that's what they do in Korea. I don't know if they follow like 80s cop show like rules. God damn it, Kim, you lose cannon, turn in your badge. They're like, look, you're a menace, but to protect you, we're going to send you to China so that you won't get arrested for your criminal charges. And while in China, Kim notices a woman being stalked by a suspicious looking man. And the movie ends with him eerily following them down the escalator. So if you want more like symbolism right there, because at this point, Kim has nothing. Most of his family's dead. thanks to Min Sik Choi's character, and he just realizes that he has nothing else to live for other than to become this like vigilante, this like emotionless guy who, again, there's nothing else in his life. What else can fulfill him other than payback? Even if it's something that he has no involvement in. Because at least with Min Sik Choi's character, that was close to him. It was personal. But in this one, it's like, oh, she might be in danger. I'm gonna go try. He pretty much becomes Dexter.
Right. Or I was going to say also the Punisher.
Oh, Punisher too.
So, but yeah, I mean, so that's how that was a deleted scene. I don't
That
know.
is not. That's not in the international cut. Again, that's only in the Korean version.
Okay, well, what do you think of that epilogue? Do you think that that makes sense, or do you like how it just ended with him just being a completely broken man? And uh, go ahead. I mean, I'll tell you what I think, but you go ahead and tell me what you think first.
I think the Korean ending, the epilogue, it almost like feels like it's setting up for a sequel, or maybe not. Maybe it's just a you decide how this goes. It would have been interesting, but I like the ending we got instead, where it just ends. Everything that needs to be done has been done, and he breaks down crying, and that's it. There's like nothing else he can really do beyond that point because his mission's over, the story's over, the devil is defeated, and Kim is just a broken man now.
And I think it makes the fiance super agent more sympathetic that he didn't go completely over to the dark side, that he didn't let the monsters completely take over. I mean, who knows? I think it makes him a little bit more sympathetic as opposed to now he's going full blast, embracing his monster and going out and killing all sorts of people, even if they might deserve it, but we don't know yet.
Oh yeah, because again, throughout the whole movie, Kim has shown that he can be really ruthless. Like when Min Sik Choi's cannibal friend, he gets the shit beaten out of him, rightfully so, by Kim. He lands in the hospital. Kim asks him, like, hey, where's your friend located? And of course, the cannibal friend is saying awful shit to him. And then Kim responds by saying, like, you know what, I'm gonna craft a big smile on your face. And he literally tries to force the cannibal's like jaw completely open. He tries to split his head apart. And it's like one of the most brutal scenes in the whole movie.
Oh my God.
It's like, holy shit.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, completely, you don't expect it. We know that he has a brutal side to him and that he is on a razor thin, just, where he could switch. He could go from I'm a super agent and using my powers for good, or I could turn into the devil and use my powers for bad. And so you see that where he's just kind of on that tightrope the entire time. And the fact that at the end, it makes it at least, I think sort of clear to us that he's going to continue on the side of good and not completely become the side of bad. And I think that if that epilogue had actually been shown, then I think we would have drawn a different conclusion.
Now, I gotta ask, what made you choose this one? I mean, this movie doesn't really feel like you. I mean, The Grifters is one thing, but this movie, what made you want to talk about this one?
When I came up with this idea for this episode, it's the first movie that popped into my head. It has to do with the visual, right? Because I think just outside of like all the bloody mess and stuff, I mean, it's just a really interesting visual movie. But it's also a story, again, I got to go back to it, that it's not tied up with a bow. Many Hollywood endings tend to just gloss over the pain and the suffering of the characters. But this one doesn't. And that while revenge may have felt good at the time, it's not something that you can't make a sustainable diet on revenge.
A healthy serving of revenge.
Right. I mean, it'll only take you so far, and that you need to then just realize that there is a way to capture evil, and maybe torturing them into submission isn't really the best way to do it. So that's one of the reasons why I chose this film. I think that it just has a unique take on revenge movies that we don't often get to see.
Now, this movie managed to get some, and I do mean some, attention here in the West, to the point where apparently they've been trying to make an American remake of this movie.
Oh, no. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, fortunately, those plans seem to be in development hell, so
Good.
yeah. Along with that Parasite remake.
Which is, again, why would you make Parasite for just watch Parasite?
But it has subtitles, and I don't like reading subtitles.
I mean, that's the thing, I don't understand why we have to. I mean, now, granted, one of the movies for today's was a remake of a spaghetti Western. So there's that. I'm not saying that all remakes bad,
Right,
but
because
I
there
think
are some great foreign remakes.
but I think that for some movies, just leave it be and just let the original stand because everything about it is so good that you can just watch that one.
Yeah, be like Paul McCartney and let it be.
Exactly. So today we explored two South Korean movies, but there are plenty more where that came from. And we just hope that you have fun checking them out.
And on that note, thank you for joining us on today's show. Until next time.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.
And as always, you can head over to talkingmovieswithmymom.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources from today's episode in the show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.